One of the trickiest and definitely the most important aspects of mastering this program is learning how to read food labels. To help break that down, I've asked my good friend, Carrie Glassman, who's a renowned registered dietitian in New York City, to join me. Hey, Carrie.
Hi, Mish.
Thank you so much for being here.
Of course.
So when I personally started paying closer attention to food labels, I was shocked at all the places that sugar hides.
I'm so happy we're talking about this today because you are not alone. Most people know that you're going to find sugar in places like candy and cookies, but it also hides in very surprising places, even in savory items like salad dressing and bread, and then in some other places that aren't as obvious like ketchup. Sugar is even in foods that we consider healthy, such as yogurts or protein bars.
Okay, so help break this down and tell us what we need to be on the lookout for.
So the first thing that we want to look at when we pick up a package in the grocery store is the front of the package. We see all that marketing, right? But we don't want to look at it. We want to ignore everything on the front of the package.
And it screams to you from the grocery store aisles, right? All of that language that sounds like the product might be healthy, no added sugar, sugar-free, organic, natural. Just ignore it.
Right, because it doesn't tell the full story.
Okay, and then what else do we want to look at?
So the next thing we're going to do is flip that package over and look for the ingredient list. And remember, that ingredient list is usually right on the back, but it may be hidden under a flap or somewhere else on the package.
And on the ingredient list, we want to be looking for 3 things: added sugars, refined carbs, and artificial sweeteners.
Right, so that first thing we're looking for, as you mentioned, is sugar, but we do want to also remember that sugar isn't always just going to say sugar. It may show up as honey, agave, or high fructose corn syrup, or anything else on our sugar AKA list.
Right, there are so many secret identities that sugar is under. So for the complete list, go to the resources, look for the sugar AKAs. It'll tell you all of the names, including the artificial sweeteners.
Right, and then the next thing you mentioned was those refined carbs. So when you flip that label over and when you're reading the ingredient list and you want to look for wheat flour and whole wheat flour, you have to remember that wheat flour is just flour from wheat. That is not approved. The product is only approved if it says whole wheat or whole grain.
Okay, but we also want to be on the lookout for those artificial sweeteners. And those can be super confusing because they have super long names.
Well, they have super long names, and many people think that they're approved because they don't add sugar grams or calories. But we do want to avoid all those artificial sweeteners like aspartame, saccharin, and sucralose. If the product has any of those, it's a no-go.
Okay, so after we've examined the ingredients list, we obviously want to look at the nutrition facts too.
Exactly. So we want to look at the nutrition facts, and on there's a couple things we want to do. We want to go to the total carbohydrate, and under total carbohydrate, you're going to look for sugars and added sugars.
And added sugars, the term added sugars is something I've started to see on some labels, but not on other labels. So tell me about that, and then I actually want to look at some labels.
So you're absolutely correct, because there are new label laws and some manufacturers have started already complying and putting added sugars in there under total carbohydrates. But technically, manufacturers do still have a couple years to comply. But I want to just explain for a second the difference between total sugars and added sugars. So some products, for example, have sugars naturally occurring in them. So even though there's no added sugars and you won't see sugar in the ingredient list, there still is sugar in the product.
Yeah.
And then added sugars obviously means that sugar has been added to that product.
Okay, let's look at some actual food products so we can check out the labels and spot all the things we just talked about. Let's start with this guy.
Okay, so first of all, marketing on the front, classic wheat.
Classic wheat.
Many people may think, oh, it's wheat, that's got to be okay for me. But again, we're ignoring that marketing. We're going to flip it over, and in here in the ingredient list, we see enriched wheat flour. You may also be confused with the enriched, thinking, oh, well, that's okay, that's got to be good.
Sounds healthy.
But it's enriched wheat. It's not enriched whole wheat. So it's a no-go. And also in here, I already see, just looking at it in 2 seconds, I see high fructose corn syrup and molasses. So there's also at least 2 other forms of sugar in here.
Okay,
so we're going to put this down.
Okay, what about this yogurt? The brand sounds super healthy, but again, we're ignoring the front.
Right, so we ignore the front, we go to the back. In the ingredient list, I see in here actually sugar and artificial sweetener. So there's cane sugar, and then there's, well, really not even just artificial sweetener. There's two types of artificial sweetener in here, sucralose and asulfame potassium. So this we're gonna put down as well.
Double whammy, putting that down. Okay, moving on to organic ketchup. Again, ignoring that word.
Ignoring it, even though it looks healthy, exactly. And then in the ingredient list, we see the second ingredient is organic sugar. It's organic, but it's still sugar and it won't be approved.
Putting it down. Okay, we also need to check out the nutrition facts label. So let's talk about that.
The third step after looking at the ingredients is going to that nutrition facts panel. So let's look at this product, for example. Again, let's ignore the front of the package. We go to the back, we see the ingredient list, that it has no sugar. We go to the nutrition facts panel under total carbohydrate. We see total sugars 5 grams. Now, if you had picked this up and you hadn't read the ingredient list and you had just gone to the nutrition facts panel, you may have thought 5 grams of sugar. I can't have this on this program, but you can. And that's because those sugars are naturally found in the product. So this product would be approved.
Let's talk about the last product, which is a protein. So why would I ever imagine this would have added sugar? But let's check out the label.
And this can be very confusing for people because, again, we go to the back, we see under the ingredient list, we see the third ingredient is sugar. So we know we can't have it. However, had you picked this up and thought to yourself, yeah, it's bacon, it's protein, and just gone to the nutrition facts panel without reading the ingredient list, you would see that the nutrition facts panel says 0 grams of sugar. So how can that be? There's added sugar in here. That's because manufacturers are allowed to say 0 grams of sugar if there is 0.5 grams or less sugar added to the product. It can still say 0, which is why, again, you still need to read that ingredient list. And that's one of the reasons I really like people to look at the ingredient list before they even go to the nutrition facts panel, because it does tell more of a story.
That makes perfect sense. And it can be head spinning. So thank you for that incredible tutorial. I know it's going to go a long way towards giving you food shopping confidence so you can make the best possible choices. Remember, there are 3 steps. Ignore the marketing on the front, look for the ingredient list, and look at the nutrition facts panel. And if you still have questions, snap a picture, post it in our community, and we'll get back to you.